in the middle of a really exciting losers bracket race between Linlinlin and Furaime. Joining me here actually on commentary is Matt, and doing tracking for us today is going to be the lane. Matt, how are you doing? I think we actually missed a little bit of the action here, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm excited. You know what, Matt? Don't let you're not seeing nothing's wrong with your screen. You are not seeing double. There are in fact actually two Furaimes on screen. There is the runner, of course, using I think it's a Plague Knight or something with his sprite. But did you know that Linlinlin isn't necessarily named Furaime, but he has the coveted Furaime role because he won the Cross Keys 2019 tournament.
Yeah, it's a tough one to get. You know, you gotta do something pretty. You gotta be pretty good to get the frame roll.
Alright, so yeah, unfortunately due to some technical difficulties, we unfortunately could not necessarily start on time, but thanks to our awesome tracker at the lane, he has actually managed to keep up with the racers, even not on this restream, and looks like we've actually got all of our trackers updated. Looks like we actually have quite the, I guess, like early light world stuff. Like we've got Miss, we've got Hookshot.
Yeah, so what happened was outside of Escape, these runners, they found a glove in Escape, and then they both found, obviously, the hook shot in the Lost Woods hideout, and they both went straight up the mountain. And now we're seeing a bit of divergence as they're going to social. So neither's been to CAC yet, as we saw.
Oh, really?
Pull
okay.
the flippers out of Agina's cave. So that actually could potentially be significant as we see Lynn going the other direction.
All right. Okay. So this is good knowledge then, if that's the case. Interesting then that both runners actually decided to, in this case, avoid Kakariko. Although I'm not really sure in this case if it, in this case, like they got anything that would really benefit them from skipping Kakariko earlier, right? Because typically you want, in this case, like you want maybe like a bottle or hopefully try to find a flute, right? But it looks like at least they haven't been able to find that quite yet.
Okay, so it looks like it was only Lynn who got the hook shot, but they both went up the mountain.
Okay.
So the hook shot that Frame's about to get is in this Lost Woods drop down. As we see Lynn setting up a water walk here.
Not yet. So
not enough money for Zora yet.
Yeah, that's right. We're like at least like 200 and almost 300 rupees short in this case of being able to pay off the fish. It is still in logic though, technically. Looks like Frame actually got flippers and Lynn having those mitts. So Zora, of course, is in logic, but I guess from Frame's perspective, he's actually going to be able to know that these water checks as well is going to be in logic.
Yeah, with no Moon Pearl, you can't go to Hobo, and this waterfall check can be a little dangerous if you don't know how many heart pieces you have, but looks like everything is a-okay on Lynn's side.
Yeah.
He's not even scouting the ledge either, so he's using this opportunity to actually do a trip to Hobo after the waterfall, which I guess makes sense as well.
Yeah. Yeah, so I guess I've seen like runners don't like sometimes if they don't have enough Zora money, they just don't even scout the ledge to begin with, just so they at least have some sort of like added incentive to go back. You know, just like once you scout, then you see it's nothing, then it's kind of like even more unappealing, right? Don't want to get all the way back to Zora and then spend, in this case, 500 rupees. It's a pretty good find though, with Hobo. What is Hobo doing with a bunch of silver?
Yeah, silver arrows. Always nice to have. Not super useful yet without a bow, but once they find that bow, they'll be able to kill certain enemies much faster. It's really good for certain boss fights. Super helpful in the Ganon fight, so you're always happy to see those silver arrows.
Yeah, and of course, you know, as part of SGL settings, this is probably one of the only modes where we're actually going to see non-progressive bows, and that's the reason in this case why we find silver arrows to begin with. We have to find the one and only bow in order, in this case, to progress. And it looks like according to like our light world crystal dungeons, Eastern is a crystal, so we are definitely gonna have to find that bow sometime today.
So interesting find here. We got the Moon Pearl in the well. So Frame does have full Dark World access, but he also has all of Light and Dark Death Mountain. So it'll be kind of interesting to see whether or not he decides to take this kind of terrible Mit's Dark World access, or whether he decides to run up the mountain first to see if he can find something to give himself a little bit more to do in the Dark World.
Yeah, and so we would really like to be able to find a hammer would be swell. Mirror would also be pretty helpful, ideally. And right now, like we don't really have that great of option in terms of clearing out like crystal dungeons, right? So we don't have a bow. We don't really want to go to the desert either. Now that we can get in without like a book or anything like that.
Yeah, exactly. The only really thing they can do is go into Thieves Town, but you could be
Yeah, these
potentially leaving anything behind. If and we don't, I guess probably Frame at least definitely doesn't know whether or not it's a crystal or pendant anyway.
Yeah, and of course, I mean, it's just never like Myth's Access Dark World it can be like very awkward, right? Because you really want to be able to find those that hammer. So like Hammer Go mode on one hand is like great because you know like hammer locks so many things, right? But to get to hammer go mode, like you're routing the dark world's awkward, right? It's just like also you mentioned like in Thieves Town you have to go clear, especially this crystal. You really just run the risk of leaving that item behind, right?
Yeah, so it looks like Frame's going to clean up. He hasn't done Mini Moldorm Cave yet. I think he went straight from the dam to Agina, so he's got a little bit to do down here. Still not enough money for Zora. But again, Lin didn't check it either, so it's really no big difference between the two of them.
Yeah, so at least, and you know, they also probably realize that even the fact that they also delay Kakariko a lot, and kind of come here on the later side of Light World, that there isn't just really any money like readily available, early on this scene. So chances are they could probably guess that their opponent also didn't do Sora unless they like just spent a lot of time farming, right? So they're probably at least like in that like peace of mind mindset.
Yeah, Lin's got an interesting decision because they did Kakariko from south to north, so they're right by this Dark World portal, so they can jump in and do a quick South Dark World loop and get that out of the way if they want to, and hope to find something decent that will bring them back, potentially with some equipment that will allow them to clear some crystal dungeons.
Yeah, always a great feeling when you have nothing except maybe some potential access into like a pendant dungeon or something. We would really like to be able to see that, but although but so far it just looks like our access though is pretty limited. Lin looks like though he is gonna hop into the Dark World first.
Yes, we got a green pendant skull, a pendant ice, and there's a 5/6. Was that a pod?
You are much faster at match checks.
I'll trust whatever Thelaine puts down there.
Yeah, alright, so yeah, we're gonna definitely check our awesome tracker here. Thelaine looks like though he did mark pod as the other 5/6, so looks like you guys are at least in agreement.
You're seeing Lin not go into Skullwoods with this because he's going into Dark World so early. It's going to be like Myers of Crystal. You're going to have to come back and activate your flute at some point. You're probably going to want to maybe do Smith Chain in the future with the mirror. So you may see him just go kind of through the village to Hype Cave as fast as possible and then figure out what he needs to do.
Yeah, it looks like though he did open up Thieves Town very briefly. Maybe this is going to be one of those potential, like, I'm going to do the front four, or we're going to just, based on seeing how many items are in the front, we'll make a decision whether or not we want to do the back.
You see Furaime going to Sahasrara. I remember in the last SGLIVE, which was Open Boost, there was the meme of the Furaime start, which was to rush to Sahasrara as the very first thing
Was it really named after him? Wow.
Yeah, I did it for a while. I liked it. And so it's no surprise seeing him run over there as fast as he can.
With the sword this time, too. Alright, hey, maybe this is going to pay off pretty well because he found a bottle. So, and we do have, in this case, the one and only portal near Kakariko in order for our Dark World access. No mirror, I guess, though, but that is going to be a good opportunity to visit a kid. Perhaps, though, we're going to see some further divergence. As you mentioned, there is a lot of stuff for him left to do, or start to do in this case, in both Light and Dark Wolf Mountain.
Yeah, and so we are seeing Lin skip the Smith Chain and skip Thieves Town and just kind of do this loop of overworld checks here. I think he might. I don't know if he did the Light World Death Mountain before the stream started. I wouldn't be surprised if he did. I guess we'll see on Furaime's side if he finds anything that we don't see on Lin's tracker.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it looks like though, so given that looks like Furaime hasn't been here at all, right? Okay, so we've got Bombos and a Red Boomerang, so two very trackable items. And in this of seeing what this place has to offer. Yeah, and I guess just as a note, as part of the SGL settings, it is a modified part item pool with actually a kind of a slow health progression growth. You're going to get 2 heart containers and 1 sank heart, so 3 effective ones, and everything else is going to be heart pieces. So they do have blue mail, which is really nice. Speaking of, they also found a ton of good stuff like the bow, and Lin finds the cape in Hype Cave. But this type of loadout typically sends the runners to Dark World, especially on the earlier side with a little bit of lower health. So these are very seasoned and like veteran runners. They're certainly very capable of doing like lower or like low percent, but certainly it's not necessarily going to be like a cakewalk, especially with like fighter swords still, right?
Yeah, for sure. Both these guys being around for a while. I think they were both already racing when I started racing, so
Wow, okay.
they definitely veterans of the game. It's kind of unfortunate that they had to meet this early in this bracket.
Oh, dude, like, okay, so, okay, this is losers bracket, round 4, so, okay, so one of them, unfortunately, in this double elimination format, has to end their tournament life here. Okay, so, Furaime got knocked down to losers bracket by Hitsu, like, I think last game, and then Lin ended up getting knocked down by Wayne, like, you know, I think in round 2 or something. So it's like, these are, it's like the talent pool is just like so stacked, right? It's just like, you're just gonna have, like, this is why losers bracket has so many, like, amazingly good runners, right? It's because you're also facing like really good runners like up in the winners bracket as well.
Yeah, can't blame these guys for getting knocked down by the #1 seed and arguably the best player left in this tournament
Yeah.
for Lin. So it's
Oh my gosh.
it happens sometimes.
It does, right? I mean, it just happens to be like this is how, you know, the talent for the community and of course like top players have just like grown. Like skill ceiling is like unlimited at this point.
Yeah, so Lin didn't really find a whole lot in his Dark World loop that he did there. So I think it's kind of likely that this bow is going to maybe send them in the direction of Eastern Palace. Be interesting to see if there's anything. Oh, well, there's a flute,
Well,
so you might see
yeah.
Furaime making his way back to Kakariko anyway.
Yeah, so this is actually going to be interesting because, you know, Furaime, he is a walker. In this case, they both have a bow, right? So they can go back to Kakariko, activate, you know, well, visit Sikit, activate their flute, and then potentially make another decision, right? So because, like, Meyer, for example, is open to them. They can take a peek at what's the medallion entry. You know, there's going to be Meyer Shed, you know, and I guess we're going to see, like, if there's anything good over there. Could be, like, two very fast checks, too, right? Before they head over to Eastern.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of standard at times just to run and check Myershed because, especially with no hammer, because hammer can always be there. You get your knowledge of what medallion you need, and like saving and quitting out of Myershed is not really that much different than just like going back there anyway. So we see that either medallion that Lin picked up is required, but I don't see Furaime not having that for too much longer.
Yeah, and we're like really far from doing pretty much anything right now in Turtle Rock anyway. So like chances are even, you know, Lin, like is like he actually never mind, he can't even open it, right? So but even if he could, like he's probably not going to be too worried.
Yeah, for sure. So Furaime gonna activate his flute here. Like you said, we'll probably do a quick sick kid check with that bottle. So kind of unfortunately for him, that other bottle was just sitting right there available for Lin. So that advantage of him going to do that early hospital check is now no longer relevant.
Yeah. Well, I guess the good news is I guess in this mode you can never have too many bottles, right? So this Furaime has actually the maximum number that you can hold. In this case, it is going to be 2, and we do see that it's not a coincidence that all of them have been empty. That is intentional, so that you have to be more conscious of, in this case, your safeties. And given that our runners haven't really had, I guess, like too much like extra money, you know, in order, in this case, maybe they want to buy a couple potions or not, but they do still have to pay off Zora. Maybe that's actually where Furaime's gonna go.
Is he going to Dependent Ice Palace right now?
I thought he might be going to Zora. Maybe he's being somewhat reasonable right now. That would be pretty sweet, man. I mean, I would 100% support that play. Going into Dependent Ice right now.
I was hoping he's really going for it. It's kind of nice for him. He'll have a chance to potentially fill up his bottles with something good.
Yeah,
can't
red
complain
potion
about a red
is
potion.
gonna be good. Looks like that he's only going to stick around for 1. Probably that's going to be just enough, at least for the time being. Safeties, of course, are always going to be really nice, especially this win. You get a red potion for free. I guess in this case, actually, we have the bow, so we don't actually necessarily need it for like pod, like to potion glitch out our way.
So you see Quake Medallion on the Zora ledge there. So I will remind people that Lin skipped checking the Zora ledge, and he did not have enough money for Zora. So these 2 checks are going to be fairly relevant because without a mirror, it's going to be tough for Lin to get back here.
By chance, do you remember or know where the flippers are? Because I see them marked
Flippers
on
are
the
in
chart.
Agina's cave.
Oh, okay. That is interesting. Okay, so I guess I don't know if Lin knows how to Ancilla, but so like if he can, then like with the bow and some bombs, then he could at least pick it up. But yeah, he needs to be able to get back there first in order to recognize that he might need a quick medallion.
Yeah, as the cross keys champion, I would assume
You know
Lin can
what?
get every kind of fake flipper known to man.
That is a very excellent point. There's a reason why the cross keys champion has the coveted Furaime roll.
All right, so Frame gonna just, it looks like he's quickly checking the shovel here. Then it'll be pretty interesting to see what he decides to do. I'm expecting an Eastern Palace play. You're pretty far away from being able to combine Eastern and Pod, missing both a hammer and a mirror.
Yeah, that looks like there's gonna be a quick Mire check.
Yeah, that makes sense. We'll find out right away, I guess, if this Quake Medallion is going to have any relevancy.
That looked like Ether, so if Lin never goes back, I think he's gonna be safe. Although Lin, though, looks like he's actually not going to concern himself too much. I'm going to check Mire later. Going to be, it looks like the first of our two runners into Eastern Palace. I certainly expect Furaime to follow suit shortly. If not sooner, relatively sooner.
Yeah, it makes sense. This is for Lin at least, the crystal dungeon that they can clear. They've already done their Dark World Overworld sweep. Looks like Frame is going to try and put off the Eastern play to potentially combo it with Pod.
Oh yeah, no, that's certainly a good point. We are missing the hammer, unfortunately, but we're also missing the mirror. But if you can save yourself a trip somehow over there, and just basically do a Pod Eastern play in once, that's going to save you a good chunk of time.
Yeah, and part of Eastern, or 2/5 or 6, was not in logic, right? So.
Oh yeah, that's true. We have 0 fire sources and 0 light sources in this case as well. I guess we're just missing that lamp.
And so Frame also not diving into the Pendant Skull Woods. Right, that is where the medallion is. I knew it was somewhere pretty free.
Yeah, I mean, so it completes his collection in this case, so he's not certainly going to be worried. I mean, he's already seen both medallions in this case. I guess I'm kind of curious to see if he decides to dip into Thieves Town. Lin, though, finding a pretty good mirror, though, in Eastern Palace.
Yeah, that's a pretty huge find, depending on what Frame does. Mind you, like, assuming Frame does his Dark World loop and then goes right to Eastern, they're going to be on the same page, which is what it looks like it's doing, because Lin has already done this Dark World sweep without the mirror.
Yeah, and, like, so do you think Furame's gonna actually just do, like, Smith Chain? Or at least part of Smith Chain? Like, pick up the Smith and want to come back? Or do you think they'll maybe just go over to Eastern after this?
You might be going straight to Hype K, because if you don't go into Thieves at all, I think you also wait to do the Smith Chain. But he does have the Flute, though, which Lin did not, so he's a bit more incentive to do the Smith, because it's very quick to return it.
I almost thought Furaime was going to pick up that heart piece, like, along his dash, but luckily he wasn't, like, that close. Alright, Lin, though, looks like he's going to conserve a little bit of health. I think we got the big key, so it's okay, so we got the big key, we just need 1 item. Do you want to see if there was, like, a map or compass?
I think they got 2 items already. I think there was the mirror and then the 5 rupees. I'm not 100% sure, though.
Oh yeah, well, in this case, like Lin's got silver arrows, and he's got a fighter sword to be able to kind of at least make some sort of homing device guide here in order to get through this dark room. So definitely gonna be able to fully clear out this place.
Yeah, he's having a little trouble finding the Igor. It can be tough. His hitbox is thinner than you think, and it is nice having a sword because, as you saw, you can spin after you pick up the key, and more often than not, you'll spin the other guy pretty far out of your way.
That is really good because it's not like I think he was at too much like low health in order to worry about, but these things do 1 heart of damage, and those Igors are surprisingly fast. Like they can just like mow you down, and you're dead like before you realize it.
Yeah, it's more just about time, right? He just knocks you, and you're not 100% sure where you are, and then you run into a popo, and it just becomes a disaster for 10 seconds.
Looks like those silvers, Lin just kind of refusing to switch off of them. I think in this case, the wooden arrows might be, you know, more worth it. Like, in this, right, like can cause a little bit reduce the black a bit more. Alright, though,
so
looks
now,
like the Furaime pick up the Smith along the way, so we're gonna go back to Kakariko, at least drop him off to see what the first half of this chain is.
I guess we did find all 3 items in Eastern Palace. I'm pretty sure that mirror was the only relevant thing. Though.
Yeah, that's certainly what it looks like. But hey, you know, at just under the 30-minute mark, we end up claiming out our first crystal.
It's still, for Lin, even with the mirror, a pretty disgusting set of items that you have, right? You have so many crystal dungeons that you can enter, but not complete.
Yeah, so they and it's like they do have Hera access now, but without a fire source, I mean, are you going in? It seems like it's at least not in the. It's like not like super avoidable, I guess, for some runners. Like you're just basically willing to give up like the basement, especially when you have the hook shot, right?
Yeah, if I were Lin with this mirror, I think I might bite the bullet and do the Thieves Town play and then just get to the Smiths after, because that's pretty quick now, but that's kind of gross too. I guess he has Mire Shed, and he can go into Pendant Desert without a fire source as well.
Okay.
It's another kind of bad decision that he could make. It's not a bad decision, but it's just like, it doesn't feel good. It's kind of what I mean.
Yeah. Well, so he does have Checkerboard Cave, I guess, and he hasn't been over to Agina yet, so at least this could be good news for him in order that he's gonna pick up his flippers, and maybe that'll further incentivize him over to, like, do the Zora area. I mean, we know it's gonna be useful for him, because we know we don't need Quake today, but, I mean, that might be more incentive for him.
Yeah, he can pick up the one item that gives him 2 more dungeons that he can dip and not complete.
Yeah. Alright, so I think actually on first that he confirmed that I think it looks like the last item was a rupee, or blue rupee.
Alright, yeah, so Desert Palace, he'll get 1 or 2 items, potentially, depending on whether there's something on Landmo or not. This I think makes sense. I think this is actually a better play than going back into the village, because you may never have to come back to Desert. You could potentially get pretty much everything you need over here, and you're still 2 items away from wanting to get into Mire, being the cane and a fire source.
Mm-hmm.
So a bit of a head shake there on Furaime's side after finding that mirror, but considering when Lin found it as well, it's not really too much of a difference. Mind you, Furaime will have to do an extra trip to the Mire area if he wants to go into Desert, but other than that, he's not losing much time from that.
Yeah, and I mean, it's kind of unfortunate because, I mean, it's not like these runners know, like, where the other one is. It just doesn't really feel good, right, when you end up, you're at, like, the 30-minute mark and you find something pretty useful in, like, you know, Spear 1 Eastern in this case, right?
Yeah, especially with how early you could have had that bow. Like, they found the hookshot and the loss was drop down, right? You could have gone right up the mountain, which both of them did, except Furaime didn't have the hookshot and Lin didn't go to East F Mountain. So you could have done Eastern super, super early.
Mm-hmm. Alright, so it looks like, though, we have, we did find 20 rupees, and looks like the last item's gonna be on Landmo itself, or themselves.
Alright, so Checkerboard Cave, this is new. The one new check for us we're going to see in a little while.
It is not anything useful at all. It's just a single lone blue rupee just sitting there. So yeah, after this...
I don't think Lin came over thinking he was going to clear this area and then end up with worse options coming out of it than he had going into it.
That actually, I mean, yeah, it's because he had so much potential, right? You had up to 5 items basically over here, and yeah, they all did not pay out for him.
Yeah, so what do you do now?
Well, so he has flippers. So do you think First Chest of Swamp is even on the table for these guys?
No.
I mean,
especially not Lin, right? He has no way to get back there. It's not like he's like the closest he can get with anything relevant to check is Cave 45, right? He's already done Hype Cave, Stumpy, and all that. So it looks like he's gonna bite the bullet and maybe go into Thieves Town. Maybe he'll do the North Dark World and Skull Woods before it. I don't know. This is just such kind of a gross set of items based on the Pendant Crystal layout.
At least it's going south for now. Any chance if we know that they were scouting like Bumper Ledge or anything? Because they did pick up a cape in Hype Cave, but looks like he's gonna go south. Smith chain then, and that's the case.
Yeah, it looks like it. Smith chain having to skip hammer bags. Might do
Always
K45
a good
first,
feeling. Yeah.
and then come back. Because he probably feels kind of bad, right? Because he knows his opponent could very easily have had that mirror on their first Dark World loop. So he might be doing a little bit of extra cleanup here to kind of play defense against that.
Oh, this is going to be a new check for what it's worth. Okay, so it is actually a mirage. It is when you pick it up, it's actually only 1.5 rupees, but just because of like what the blue rupee is replacing in this case, can probably be like a bottle or another shield in this case. It just happens to be that it's too big, I guess, for 1 rupee, so you have to be looking at 2.
Yeah, so Furame's opted for the hair play. I mean, again, it's as good as any of your other options. What kind of sucks is that you have no choice to get the item out of the basement if you need to, or the big chest potentially, now that we see that small key, and you don't have a book or a hammer to either do Ether Tablet or Spike Cave. So like no matter where these guys want to go, they're going to be orphaning something. As we see, there is a big key in the basement, but they did get 1 item already, so it's fairly likely they'll get everything they need.
I was gonna say that's the hope, right? We're certainly gonna hope that the last item's gonna be on Moldorm, so then they don't have. So this actually gonna be like the best layout in this case for Herapod, right? It's just, but you know, theme of SGL seems to be big key is in Hera basement, and then something super important is in the big chest, like the first qualifier when they found the flute that you needed. Yeah, it's, hopefully it's not gonna happen in this race for these guys.
Yeah, I'm sure the Ice Rod he's leaving in there is not
gonna be good. Ice Rod. I guess there can't be like too much out there. I mean, like Birdie like got all 3 medallions, right? So it's not gonna be like a, you know, it's not gonna be a medallion hunt in addition to whatever like Ice Rods or, you know, anything we have left for that.
Nice, a nice NMG Moldum fight here, although he's got the cape which he might use, but Furaime.
He's also got the hookshot out. Yeah, I mean, he's also got a hookshot out, so I know he kind of, sometimes he has done like a couple hookshot strats, though Moldorm is not in a good position.
Ooh, that was a dangerous dash right there. There we go. Now he's got it. Ooh.
Oh my gosh!
That was a good recovery.
Wow.
Yeah, look at his face. He knows that he slashed the wrong direction, and then he still got him. So I think he's feeling a bit lucky there.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, whenever you end up like seeing like Moldorm on one side and you're not facing him with the sword, like it's super dangerous. There's a reason why Furaime has a falling a little hole emote from as one of his only things from Hera.
So I think there is an item in the big chest.
Yeah. So we end up getting a map from Moldorm himself. So unfortunately, you know, with no fire, Furaime doesn't have any other choice in this case but to abandon it.
Yeah, and we saw Lin just do both the Smith Chain and the Purple Chest, both of which were 20 rupees, and so now he's in Thieves Town. He did find a sword in here, which is kind of nice, but at this point, it does not help us at all. Other than combat. It doesn't help us with the progression.
Yeah. I mean, you're never going to turn down a sword, right? But as you said, it's not... it is progressive in that we need it for Ganon. It is not progressive enough for us to give us some better direction for the next place we're supposed to go to.
Yeah, so we have found the small key. So the hammer can be anywhere in here now, except for the big chest. So that is maybe at this point, with so little left, a little bit more incentive to go to the back, because there's 3 checks that could be hammer instead of 1 if the small key was, say, inside the big chest.
Yeah, I guess, like, what are our other options at this point? Like, so we can get to... Actually, Yeah, we can get to Catfish, right? And we can do North Dark World. I guess we can go to Pod as well.
Yeah, you can do the Skullwoods. Nothing completable.
Yeah, you remember when you said earlier that there are not like a lot of attractive options? That hasn't changed in like the last like 5 minutes. Looks like though Furaime is actually going to just do the front 4. It's going to explore some other options here, so at least it'll give us a couple checks, but certainly hoping, for his sake, that it's going to be the right decision.
That's potentially a big find there in the attic with the fire rod on Lin's side, so that'll give him more incentive to go into this Green Pendant Skull Woods. It's also another item pointing to the discussing hammerless Ice Palace play as well.
Yes, as you said, we do not mind. Man, not only is it hammer, there's also another pendant, right? I don't know. I mean, would you feel better or worse if it was a crystal versus a pendant?
No, it's better when it's a pendant, because if you just find your hammer in there and then you just leave and never have to come back, you didn't lose any time.
Okay. Yeah, that is certainly true. I guess like with the crystal, right? Like you have to go back a second time, or you have to, or in this case, you continue, right?
Yeah, and then when you find hammer in Ice Palace, sometimes there's some really gross. Well, there you go. There's your hammer in Hera
Wow,
basement, or sorry,
dude.
Thieves Down basement.
All right, yeah. So like Lin has definitely made the right decision, at least at for the current time being, that he not only found the fire rod, which of course we know is required for Turtle Rock, but he also found the hammer, which is definitely gonna open up the rest of this world.
Yeah, so that's some pretty significant progression. So if you're a Furaime fan, you're gonna want to see him travel south out of Skullwoods, but judging by his route, I think he might be doing the North Loop into Pod.
I mean, he did do the front four, so like it certainly could be an indicator that he just maybe wants to see what else is out there in hopes of, you know, maybe tempering some of his later, like whatever, other checks, overworld checks, in hope to find the hammer. So I don't know, it seems like he will come back here sooner rather than later, but it is right now, you are correct, that he is still delaying that pickup, right, of his hammer and fire rod.
Yeah, and he hasn't done the Smith chain yet, right? So he's got that as well to loop in if he decides to come back. Well, he did do the Smith, but he doesn't have the purple chest.
Right, yeah. Alright, so nothing on Bumper Ledge. Looks like is it at least going to be a graveyard check? Oh, graveyard. Yeah, graveyard ledge check. And did they do King's Tomb early?
Probably. I'm not sure though. It might have been before the stream was up that they did it. They got mitts, and obviously they started with boots, so like mitts were super early. It was in the Lost Woods.
Okay, so it's possible, but I mean in this case, like Furaim's already here, so it's certainly possible that if he hasn't done it already, he can also make this check too.
Yeah, and so with the hammer and fire rod, Lin's got a lot to do now. They got the fully clearable both pod and swamp, and
a tablet, it's like,
and the Hera as well. And with that book too, they can clean up everything around Hera as well, whereas Furaime was not able to do that.
Yeah, and it's actually a good thing that Lin actually, like, maybe, you know, just found the hammer and actually decided to do hammer pegs, because I think if he didn't do it then, it's going to be kind of hard to come back to. Because he's already done everything else, as you said, in the area, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I think all we need, right, is just Samaria and Ice Rod. So all of a sudden...
Yeah, that was surprisingly fast. Just taking some inventory here, so we do have, I mean, we've already seen that Furaime has a crystal, like, that he's completed for Hera. But yeah, we have the hammer and bow for Pod. We have everything we need for Swamp. And we just need Cane of Samaria and to find, hopefully, that Ice Rod before the Cane.
Yeah, and so with the hammer, the decision for Lin was kind of obvious not to go do Skullwoods when you have the two most lucrative crystal dungeons there is ready for you to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like the chance of you finding like a go mode pod, it's like not actually that common, because basically you find like the key, like the big key in the front, which I mean can happen, but it's like the difference between go mode pod and like a non-go mode pod isn't going to be that much of a difference. And you're still missing stuff, right? So you still want to go find, and pod has like you know, a lot of items for him, right?
Yeah, exactly. It makes sense for Lin to do pod first, but I think you actually might see him go up and do a Hera before Swamp, so we can do the Pyramid Fairy after Swamp, but I'm not sure exactly what he's going to do. Oh, there's our Cane of Samaria.
Oh, wow, so okay.
More and more juicy. Might hit go mode right here in pod.
Looks like Lin was actually trying to avoid going over to the Bowlock side. Because save time, you can actually make it over there, just based on your boots tech alone, but it is actually probably one of the most difficult ones to actually succeed, to be successful on.
Yeah, and unfortunately that gain may put Furaime further off the path. I mean, it is a fire source, Lismire, so they may try to avoid that as well, but it does give them like another option for a potentially completable crystal dungeon.
Mm-hmm. It's also certainly, so we also don't know where that lamp is. That could also be our other fire source. You know, obviously these guys don't need the lamp to get to the dark rooms, but you know, if that lamp ends up, let's say, being in pod, and that's Furaime's like fire source from Mire, at least he can at least clear that crystal dungeon, right? At least like have like some assurance that he's going to be able to.
Yeah, that makes sense. So you see Lin going straight to the back because he potentially could hit go mode on Helmasaur.
Yeah, I mean this seems very reasonable. So basically, he is going to treat this basically as like a go mode pod. Looks like because like it looks like the big key was actually in the front. And yes, I think Lin's, he does have the fire rod pulled out at least for quick swapped over there. So just in case, like Dark Turtles, while I'm sure these guys are very accustomed to it, still can be a little bit troublesome. So it's never hurts in order to kind of like light up that room so you can just get through a little bit faster.
Yeah, Dark Turtle sucks. I'm really impressed by the people who can just do it the normal strat in the dark. Some people are so good at it, but I always have to light that torch.
I heard like bombos also helps a lot, right? Like so basically you can like get down to the somewhat center-ish of the room and then knock some turtles over and then use bombos and it'll kill a lot of them. Wow.
Yeah, speaking of, Lin just going for it. It looks like he got 4 with that initial slash, and now he's going for the torch.
I think it's also very reasonable. Those turtles, as we're seeing, they move really fast, and it's really easy to basically just keep getting hit. Not only does your health just kind of like whittle down, you also don't know like where those turtles are. It's not like they like stop like Ivors, right? Every once in a while they'll like just like pause and close their eyes. The turtles just keep coming at you.
Yeah, with Master Sword, it's a little tougher because one slash doesn't kill them, and trying to kind of echolocate them with the hammer can just be a pain. Sometimes you just gotta light the torch and accept it.
Alright, looks like the Lin setup spin speed. So he's probably going to try and at least use like offset the hammer's hitbox for phase 2, so you can at least get Temper Sword damage. Nice energy strat there.
Go for it. He's got silvers. He can just put one into him.
That might have been a delayed, like, oh yeah, I have silvers type of thing.
Alright, so just some bombs. Like, I will point out that Lin seems pretty significantly ahead, but there are a lot of horrible spots that Ice Rod can be that can bring Furaime right back into this.
Yes. I mean, so right. So I think as you mentioned before, we were all of a sudden after Thieves Town, right? We found the fire rod in the attic and the hammer in the maiden cell. We were something very close to go mode, right? Basically missing Samaria and Ice Rod, and we really wanted to find the Ice Rod before Samaria, because if we found Ice Rod before Samaria, there are Samaria ends up blocking a lot of places, right? So like you don't have to, for example, go look in Turtle Rock for that Ice Rod, because you can't get into Turtle Rock, like, right, without Samaria. Unfortunately, or, this seems to be just like the way that, rando scenes, roll. You're always gonna find Samaria in this case before that elusive Ice Rod.
Yeah, and there's like, Furaime could have hammer go mode right after he makes some ridiculous Ice Palace dip and finds the Ice Rod in the first chest, and like, so there's oh, never mind.
Oh, never mind.
This is just the freest seed ever if you dip Thieves Town right away.
Wow, yeah, that is super fast, because Lin, in this case, is do the rest of the Dark Maze, and he's going to be able to find it. And then, yeah, shortly, almost probably at like the 46-minute mark, he is going to be in go mode.
Like, could you imagine if Lin had dipped and completed Thieves Town in his first Dark World loop, right? He would have just gone to pod, right? Like 10 minutes ago. He would have go mode like 35 minutes.
That's pretty nuts, because I don't even know if he would have done like the rest of the Dark World, like the South Dark World stuff, right? Because he could have just gone over to pod, right? Like,
yeah, he would have gone to the mountain, gotten his bow, and then it's like, oh, I'll just go to pod Eastern. Oh, there's my go mode right there.
Lin is potentially still looking for something?
Yeah, I think he's trying to find a sword, maybe.
Oh, that is an excellent point. You're right. We do have the necessary number of swords in order to take on Ganon, but it's life is much more comfortable and upgraded if we can just get that tempered sword.
Yeah, so Lin gonna get some potions. The only question now is, what order does he do the dungeons in? I think you go Mire Swamp, Tiara Hera, just because Silver Arrows make Vidi free, and you could find a sword in Mire. But, I mean, it doesn't really matter too much.
I guess it also might depend on where, in this case, like the big key is, because if you end up getting the big key pretty early, like assuming Vitreous doesn't really drop anything for you, like you still could just like not see the rest of the dungeon, right? I mean, it's good and bad, right? Because good is that you could just save a bunch of time, but bad is if there happened to be a sword in there, then you're just never gonna see it for the scene.
Yeah, it's true. It's pretty damn unlikely that you're gonna find a sword in Mire, even if there is a sword in Mire.
Yeah, only 2 items total, so looks like Lin is gonna at least go to the most dense place. I mean, assuming he's gonna, do like a pseudo go mode, right? He's basically he might skip the map chest, which is the second one. He might skip the compass, I guess I don't know. It's not gonna be super out of the way, but he'll probably check like flooded rooms chest and like waterfall chest, right? Facing to the back.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think they'll skip both the map and the compass chest. They'll just open the 3 chests that you walk right by on the way to Argus. Yeah, you kind of see Furaime doing really everything he possibly can before going back to Thieves Town.
Yeah, I mean, in this case, like with the cane, but no fire, is this a Meyer like entry? Like he is coming back into this portal. And I guess we're going in. All right, so
it's kind of gross. I think I'd rather do another Thieves Town than a Fire Sourceless Meyer, but like he's already been in and left Thieves Town, so he's probably not a winning play in his mind to go back there. So this I mean, it makes perfect sense from his perspective to do this.
It's certainly possible, right, that we can actually just clear out Meyer completely, right? Like we get the big key and both items, I think, without touching the Firelog side. I guess I'm not sure about the key logic.
Yeah, it's hard to not have either the big key or an item on the left side, but it can happen.
Okay, so I don't even know what the hope is. I guess the hope is that Furaime's going to be able to find the big key, not on the Firelog side, and then if there happens to be an item, like, I guess he's gonna have to eat that. At least he'll be able to walk away with a crystal, right? Okay, so at least have the big key here. I guess also, yeah, for his sake, unless maybe like the lamp is in here that could help him. We already know because Lin's in go mode. There's not, even if he leaves items here, it's not going to like hurt him, I guess, in the long run. At least for his progression through the scene.
Yeah, exactly. This is only saving him time rather than coming in here. Well, I guess he couldn't possibly come in here with a fire source without being in go mode, unless there's like a weird lamp somewhere. But relative to having lamp, he's absolutely saving time.
I guess I'm curious now to like see where that lamp is. I don't think we've seen it on Lin's side either, but I mean, it certainly could be in like left side swamp, right? We're just like never gonna see that.
Yeah, I mean, there's tons of places. I think lamp could be in TR at this point.
Yeah, that's true because we did have logical access. So actually, how did we get to the mountain? Because we found the flute in Dark Death Mountain, right?
Oh, you're right. You did find flute on Death Mountain. So no, I don't know where the lamp can be. It's probably Skull Wisdom. Yeah,
it could be like in the back, right? Yeah, because like Thieves Town had the fire rod, so yeah, it could. I mean, it's still a lot of places. It's just like we just haven't seen it yet.
Maybe that's the item in the first Justified Spells.
Yeah, that's right. We're basically at this point never touching pen. Well, Lin's not touching pen and ice for sure. I don't know what Furaime's gonna do after this.
So, like, Lin's gotta be feeling pretty good about that route. Like, you can definitely envision a faster route than Lin's route, but there's not that many of them.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned, right, like maybe the only real thing that Lin isn't feeling great about is the fact that he only did front 4 of thieves. Or sorry, he didn't touch thieves at all the first time around, but if he had gone in, right, then like he would have saved a bunch of time. But like, I mean, this is hindsight, right? Like, it's not like you knew that was going to be the best decision for you at the time, right?
Yeah, but oftentimes, like, see Furaime getting through these dark rooms pretty well up to this point.
Yeah, no fire rod means no spooky. Dark spooky is still pretty difficult, but also like I think he's just going to do this like kind of like the old-fashioned way with Cane of Samaria, in this case in the dark. He is doing a pretty good job though getting through these rooms.
Yeah, it's a decent way to do it. Sometimes tough to find your way around the dark when that shooter's shooting at you, trying to hit that switch, but yeah, he did it pretty well. And with silvers, Vidi Fight is pretty free, so even with only 3.5 hearts, he can actually take an eyeball hit and still live through that, so this should be no issue for him.
Yeah. Good thing we picked up Blue Mail. Hard to tell on this sprite, but yes, we do have it. Lin also coming in here from I'm assuming he also going to use silvers. He might just have to be a little bit more conscious of his arrow count because you know, Vitrius does take a lot of arrows, silver arrows out of you. He just has to make sure that he has enough for Ganon at the end. Which I think there are lots of like random arrows under pots, right? That you could go pick up. Like they're 5 in TR.
Yeah, they should be just fine, I think. It's pretty likely they'll find some arrows in a pot or from an enemy somewhere anyway.
Yeah, so fortunately or unfortunately for Lin, you know, he's going to find the big key right here. So presumably he's just going to go to the back. He's not going to go check anything else.
Yeah, might do the hover. Yeah.
I was gonna say, that is probably like the one only place that we're going to be able to see this this movement over to take the shortcut over downstairs. Nicely done. We can even get to the dark room, the dark basement, even faster. I guess I'm not sure if. Do you know if Lin happens to know anything about Dark Spooky?
I wouldn't be surprised if they can do it, but I don't think they set it up with the block from what I saw. But I'm not sure.
Okay. Okay.
Oh yeah, looks like they're going for it. Maybe he did dash before I put it down. I saw he threw it instead of placed it, so I wasn't sure. That was it. You got it.
Yeah, it sounded like a hit. Wow, that is pretty impressive.
Now, Lin is in one-hit KO mode, but again, with silvers, you can kind of keep your distance, although you gotta not walk down the stairs to avoid the fire snake, but...
yeah, looks like, though, he does not actually, unfortunately, have enough magic for that last fire rod shot, so has to go kind of hit the switch the old-fashioned way. Good. Also, you do point out, you do make a good observation though. He's in one-hit KO mode. We don't have any real, like Lin has potions, but we don't have like powder or something, right? They kind of like be able to give him like a nice refill, like right before this fight. It looks like he's just gonna risk it because he doesn't want to use one of his blue potions.
Yeah, this is pretty safe. Yeah, nicely done.
Alright, though, it looks like, alright, so Lin claiming his next crystal, so he just has Hera and Turtle Rock to go. So it's actually pretty nice in terms of his routing, so because you don't have to leave the mountain, right? Your last two crystal dungeons are just up there, so you can just basically run over right to GT when you're done. Actually, ideally, you do Turtle Rock, then you do Hera, Mirror, right? And then you're right at GT. So you don't have to like run that far, you just have to go up the stairs.
Yeah, it's not often you get to do your Crystal Hera with your GT.
Alright, so we are going to take a couple more new checks here on Furaime's side. He is going to dive Pendant Ice Palace. Unfortunate for him, because we know that there's not going to be anything of value. Maybe, although we're going to maybe see if there's going to be like a lamp in here or something.
Yeah, it looks like he's committed to the if it's in Thieves Down, I'm dead play, which, I mean, it is in Thieves Down and he is dead, but like, if it wasn't here, he is playing to the outs that, from his perspective, that he has, right? So this everything he's doing makes sense. If you commit to the skip, then he had two chances to go into the back of Thieves Town and did not do it. So after that, you gotta kind of forget about it.
Yeah, and you know, and from his perspective also, right? Like if the hammer's here, but he finds a fire rod, right? I mean that's also progression, right? And if you don't have to find your hammer, you can at least like just leave early, right? Would be pretty mean of a seed in order to like put like oh no, yeah, like, but then he knows that like it can't, like hammer can't be like later on in Ice Palace, right?
Yeah, there are only certain places it can be.
So I guess actually from Furaime's perspective, he is just missing the hammer and the fire rod, right? And that's what he needs for go mode?
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
He knows that too. Yeah, so you can see Ice Palace the old-fashioned way. Not too many Ice Palace bomb jumps in this tournament, but
yeah.
He's opting to do this because if you do Icebreaker without the hammer, you can get locked out if you don't get a small key. And the chest you get is not in logic without the hammer, and considering the hammer is one of two items he's looking for, it kind of makes sense to go this direction when you don't get a small key in the compass chest.
This everything you said sounds very, very reasonable. We've actually seen some good amount of NMG, I guess, related things. We did see like a nice fire sword Moldorm, although we did have, as you said, we had Cape earlier. Not that I think either runner ended up using it either, though. All right, so what are we gonna find here in?
Is our lamp in Ice Palace? This is kind of the potentially the only question we get answered here.
We haven't found it so far. Looks like he is thinking though about how in this case he's gonna route the rest of this dungeon. I guess I assume we haven't seen the big key because he just totally skipped the big chest.
Yeah, and going through it, unfortunately, with the hammer this way, it is kind of slow because you have to check the ice sea chest here and then go all the way back up the hookshot across to go to the spike chest. Just kind of like small key layout in Ice Palace really made it a bit of a pain.
So if you're Furaime and you dip in Ice Palace and you end up finding nothing, where are you going next? In this case, are we
I mean, what does he have left? I think he hasn't checked Catfish, right?
He has checked Catfish.
He did check Catfish?
Yeah, he did his North Dark World loop, or sorry, whatever, straight over to Catfish. He did Graveyard Ledge, King's Tomb, and then hopped over.
I think he only has Thieves then.
He does have the, well, see, he has the first chest of Swamp, right?
I guess, but like you have to walk right by Thieves to get to the first.
Okay, that's really
it's pretty tough to do Swamp before going back into Thieves. So I think he knows that he has skipped an item, a critical item in Thieves Town that has almost always has to lead him to his hammer, but like he may like extremely fully commit to it. He's got to know now that if it's Thieves Down, he's probably dead. So maybe he will just dash right past Thieves and go all the way to Swamp.
I guess we're gonna see. So yeah, and unfortunately for both items that he's missing, he's going to find here in the back of Thieves Town, and that was just like a condensate, like a very condensed location for items, right? It just happens to be like very, very punishing in this case if you ended up skipping like the back.
Yeah, and this feels really bad for him because like you almost could not have possibly put this off any longer. And it's not only that, and it's not like you found the cane or the ice rod in a weird place, right? They are both right on the path in pod. So once he finds the hammer, he's gonna know what's up.
Oh yeah, I guess. Yeah. At least he'll find the fire rod first. So he'll technically need hammer combo for I don't know a couple screens.
What if he leaves after the fire rod?
No, that'd be so bad.
To answer chat, there were 2 items in the front of these now. Well, there had to be, right? Because it had to be big key, small key.
Sword and fruit pea? Red fruit pea, I want to say.
Yeah, I think so.
It was something else that was pretty useless. Although Lin, though, looks like he is... Okay, he must have found a sword somewhere in Turtle Rock because he is definitely swinging something orange. You know, we get a peek into what the runners are potentially thinking with these webcams, if Furaime did not make a happy face. His nod in the horizontal direction also indicates that he potentially is not satisfied with the results so far.
Yeah, he's about to be a lot more unsatisfied because when you find a fire rod, there's still a few weird places that maybe that hammer could be. Like it'd be like on Sahasal or something weird like that. But once you find the hammer here, you know it's you're in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, that's a really good point because he doesn't find fire rod. So at least currently, before this chest right here, he thinks, oh, there could be something still, as you said, on Sahasal with the green pendant.
That's not a pleased look right there.
Oh man, sorry. That is, well, he recognized that he is in go mode at least. Oh man, but that is a pretty rough pickup though at the hour mark.
Seeing Lin here playing a little safe, going for the big chest, just to make sure he doesn't get locked out by 2 bad small key placements.
Yeah, so it's like, so I heard it was like a 4% chance or something like that you could end up having to do the dungeon over again. Is that?
Oh no, he did do it, and he got screwed by it. Oh, I'm not paying attention at all. Okay, that sucks. That feels bad.
Oh, okay. All right, so that's good information. No, so I guess okay. So risk versus reward in this case, the 4% can still bite you.
Oh, that really sucks. Yeah, like that happens so rarely. Like 4%, I guess sounds right. I have no idea what it actually is, but like at least if you're Lin, you know your opponent. If they're close on your heels, probably did it as well. But I hate it when that happens.
It's certainly not a good feeling, right? In this case, like you think you're gonna play to percentages, but I mean, it's like it's almost just like dying like at a boss or something, right? It's just like unless your opponent did that too, like you're just not gonna make that time up. Alright, looks like the Furaime is going to at least temporarily stock up on a potion. I mean, recognize that he doesn't have Master Sword, he doesn't have Temper Sword. So Master Sword, really anything, just to make sure that he has some safety to work with, just in case he has to do Master Sword Ganon. But it looks like though, Lin did find a sword in Turtle Rock, so at least we know now that he's not gonna have to do that. Lin, though, needs to probably want to stay alive. Wow.
Yeah, this Trank's like getting a little out of hand here, but now that the Fire Knight's heads are down, he'll be able to clean it up pretty easily.
Do you know in this case that the ice on the floor causes extra lag, or is it just literally just like bad, like you're not gonna be able to move very well?
I don't know.
Okay.
I would guess that it causes extra, like everything in this game causes extra lags.
You know what? That's a good point.
Especially in Rando, where everything lags like a little bit more than in vanilla.
Oh yeah, no, you actually do bring up a good point. Just like so, a good example also is like Thieves Town and Randomizer. It's just like you just get to move like I don't know, half the speed or like a quarter of the speed you normally get to. Alright, so Lin heading towards Ganon's tower. He is unfortunately not going to be able to get in quite yet. He's going to have to just Harapod his way up real quick in order to get his last crystal. And then we can enter GT. And then we can also guess where the GT big key is for him. Meanwhile, though, Furaime is in Swamp Palace. He is going to definitely go mode this. Looks like he is skipping... well, he might end up checking like some of his chests like along the way that Lin did, but I don't know what the state of the what he thinks the state of the match is if he just needs to basically skip out like everything.
Yeah, I'm sure he thinks he needs to go as absolutely fast as possible, and there's only one more check Lin could have done before getting the hammer than Furaime did, so he's got to move as quickly as possible for sure.
Right, so yeah, on contrast though to Furaime, Lin here, kind of come here with Temper Sword. It's going to be a little bit safer fight for sure. Just, well, he needs to land one of these spins first.
Yeah, pretty nice Moldorm fight.
Yeah, this time, Hera Big Chest, not going to be punishing for our runners. Alright, looks like the Furaime is at least checking one chest, which is Waterfall. Unfortunately, it was not. It's just a big key, so not going to be worth his time. Okay, so we're going to head into GT, like, right now. Feel free to make any guesses if you so choose. It's going to be between 1 and 22 where you think that GT big key is. I'm actually not sure what preference, if any, Lin has in GT basement routing. I want to say he went right against his matches against Blaine, but don't hold me to that.
Yeah, for him going for the Master Sword pokes on Argus, that is really difficult to do. He's kind of given up on it now, but he had it going pretty good for the first few puffs.
Oh, right. Lin, inside GT already. Looks like he is actually going to go left. So I think we did not see anything. So that was 1 on the torch. We're going to check Stapo's room first. Doesn't look like he's killing anything, so maybe this is going to be a mirror out to do right side. Yeah, a lot of small keys in that room.
Yeah, doing the old left-right route. I hate this route, and I do it every time. But
Wait, what? Why do you do this route
I
if
don't
you don't like
know.
it?
It's what I
Matt,
do.
what?
I just have decided, like, it's a situation where there's no small key in Hope Rune. I feel like most of the time you lose time, but sometimes you gain a lot of time.
You know that there are lots of good runners, especially those actually in the top 32 brackets, such as I believe Elaine and Jem, who also decided to go right first. So you're definitely not going to be alone in that company if that's what if that's what you're worried about.
It's a good route if you want to play like defense against somebody you think you're better than, because it's hard to lose a ton of time doing this route. Like the most you're going to lose is like, maybe 20 seconds. But if you're playing someone you think is equal or better than you, you may want to consider doing something different.
Certainly keep that in mind for when you end up playing your own top 32 match later on next week. Alright, Lin actually said, okay, Budget no Bicky yet on Compass Room, but he did end up finding Powder, which is actually going to be a really nice safety, especially at the top of the GT. Did you happen to see if we found a small key though in Hope Room? Out of curiosity.
Well, no, you can't find a small key in Hope Room. Oh no, sorry, in Hope Room. No, there was no small key in Hope Room. I thought you meant Compass Room.
Yeah. Okay. Well, if that's the case, then we're gonna actually end up seeing what because this is gonna be like the divergence, right? I think in this case it's going to be potentially faster if you end up going right first, because there wasn't anything other than Powder, I guess, of value in Compass, right?
Oh, I hate it when this happens. Lin not switching the hook shot quite fast enough.
We got a quick swap. Nice. All right. So first time's the charm. First time every time. So Lin's gonna be able to just keep searching for this GT key. Meanwhile, Furaime though back in another dark room on his side. He does have the fire rod this time, so at least he's going to at least have some backup if he really needs to light this room. But it looks like at least he got through Fire Dark Basement pretty well, so maybe he doesn't need it here. He is pulling out Ether. He got 5 turtles? That looked pretty good.
Yeah, Ether is the best medallion to use to kill them.
He does not need any type of light source whatsoever. Really nicely done there, Furaime.
Alright, there's our big key in Rando Room. So, again, the Wayne route fails.
Yes, that is correct. That should be motivation enough for you in order to switch routes next time, Matt.
No, never. I've lost so many races doing that.
No.
I gotta start winning them soon. So it's gambler's fallacy.
No. That's why it's a fallacy, right? Alright, looks like Lin, he's climbing his gauntlet. He has like so many arrows at this point. It looks like actually Mims were also dropping some arrows as well. Or something was dropping them arrows, so it should be fine in terms of ammunition.
Yeah, 110. Like with the GT Big Key, that's a pretty fast seed. I wonder, it's gonna be interesting to ask Lin how they're feeling right now, right? Because they did do like some stuff that you obviously didn't need to do, like that kind of desert mire dip before going back to Thieves Town and doing the Smith Chain. So like you're probably, it's like that kind of situation where you're feeling pretty good about your route, but like as you're in go mode and you're executing your dungeons, like the faster route that could beat you kind of develops in your head.
Yeah, well, also, like, according to also some confirmation from chat, is that he decided to take the Brisk and Turtle Rock, right? And he got locked out, and so he had to redo all that Turtle Rock. So, like, that cannot be a feels-good feeling, right? Like, as you said, like, the fact, I think his big decision-making point was going back to, like, do all of the backup East Town. So that should certainly buy him an advantage. But, again, like, there are goods and bads, right, for what he's done so far this season.
Yeah, for sure. And I think at this level, most people make that TR gamble. So I don't like. There's a pretty damn good chance your opponents can do that. So we're going to see on Furaime's side.
Yes, we are. We are going to see.
Hopefully, Lin won't be done before he gets to that point. But like, I would not be surprised at all if he makes the same gamble too. Mind you, he's in a much more desperate situation than Lin was. But I still think no matter what, he would do it.
You bring up a good point. Yeah, Furaime is interested in probably saving as much as he possibly can in terms of time. So, what he decided to do now may or may not be reflective of what he would like normally do, right? All right, Lindo looks like he's trying to.
Yeah, no lamp, right? You got to be a little careful.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Where was that lamp? We hadn't found it yet. Lin, really trying to get through GT Torches 1, and beat the door.
And like I saw them they use one blue potion on Trinex. I don't know if they have another one.
He bought 2, so he should have another one. I don't remember seeing him use another one, so if he ever quick swaps over, we're gonna find out.
Yeah, that room with low magic and only fire rod and no backups and like your hands are kind of sweaty from this like tournament pressure. It's real easy to mess that one up.
Speaking from potential experience there.
Yeah, I am speaking from experience.
Oh, no. I mean, like, I'm like that's also like a good observation though. Like these guys are on a pretty high stakes tournament, right? This is going to be an elimination match. For them, like winner gets to move on to the loser side of the bracket for top 8 losers. They still have like quite the battle ahead of them, but also there's a lot of like. There's a lot of stake on the line, right? You are definitely not going to necessarily be like just like another like casual playthrough, or maybe something that you have like done like a lot of times, or where even if you lose out of this race, the stakes aren't going to be like very high. Right?
Yeah, and this getting through the losers bracket in that SGLIVE week is going to be a lot of work for whoever gets through it. You got to win a lot of games in a row if you want to make it to the finals in this thing.
Yes. I mean, like winners bracket, while I guess it's technically fewer matches, right? It's not like the pressure's any lower up there. And as you said, like not a lot of number of matches you have to get through, especially for the whole week if you can make it to the finals. And it's just like every match you play is even more pressure, right? Lin, I think this Agasu is not helping Lin's nerves at this point.
Yeah, Lin looks like a pretty cool customer. It's kind of hard to get like a sense of what he's feeling right now.
Just another window into their mindset. I mean, for what it's worth, I think these guys have actually held their cool down like pretty well, right? Very focused, very not in this case. Just basically just keep playing, right? It really hasn't seemed like their execution has really taken like any toll, like from all the pressure that they've gone through.
Yeah, both playing really well, which obviously you would expect from these two guys.
Oh, heck yeah.
Extremely skilled.
Yeah, and I think also just like it seems like a lot of like tournament experience also would help, right? Because that's also part of being such such a good runner. Not only are you just skilled in execution, you're also like mentally kind of like forged, right? Because you've gone through high stakes tournaments, high stakes pressure situations. It really would help you out in situations like this.
Yeah, so I will say Furaime is taking a safety play, so he is gonna not get screwed there. So he'll get
a good amount
2
of
minutes back,
then, right?
but unfortunately there's another 15 that are still lost. But so nice 1-1 on Lin's side. Just gotta pump 3 more of these silver arrows in again, and then we have ourselves another top 32 participant.
Yeah, all right, 1 arrow, 2 arrows, 3 arrows. Nice triple on Lin's side. He just can't fall off right now. He's going to wade through this fanfare. He's going to cross this bridge. And then with that, he is going to be able to claim his spot in the top 32 on the losers bracket side. And the winner of this race. Get your GGs out in chat for Lin, who is going to be the one Furaime that's going to be able to advance on to the next set of SGL.
Yeah, GGs. Really well played on Lin's side. Do you happen to have the bracket? Do we know who they're going to play?
I think it's Jetto Man. The losers bracket like layout seems to be kind of like not set, but I think that's the person who is going to play.
It sounds like we are joined by Lin. GG's, Lin.
GG's.
So I gotta ask, like, when you got Dark World access, it seemed like you only had like a set of terrible decisions you had to make. Like, what was your thought process and kind of the order of going into dungeons that you could not complete?
The thing is, coming to CAC from south and getting the pearl in Kakariko. So I end my CAC crawl at Blind's Hut. And since I'm already there, I figured I'm just going and then going all the way to Hyde Cave without even touching Thief Town. Like, I wasn't touching Thief Town or Skullwoods for that matter. Like, I'm looking for the hammer at this point. Kinda glad I actually died on Death Mount. I wasn't sure what I was doing, if I was going through or not. But it didn't matter. Like, dying on 3 hot on Death Mountain, like, it didn't matter for me. I knew it can happen, so of course you kind of feel bad, but like it's still the beginning of the game. Like, we're not even 10 minutes in. You can't really yeah, I took a death, but I can't really, like, I didn't have to stay focused, so I just, okay, I can't just go back. I wanted to check Spike Rock at least. I wasn't sure if I was going to Deathmount to EDM, but I was like, okay, fine, I'll just start at Link's house and then do South Shore. Trying to look for the pearl. So when I go to East Death Mountain, I can do Hookshot Cave as well. So it worked out.
Yeah, that makes sense. And looks like Furaime is going to kill Trinex and then call it quits here. So GG's to Furaime. The kind of unfortunate. So Lynn, the big difference was that Furaime almost hard last location, the back of Thieves Town. They kind of went through the Dark World loop twice without going to the back. And then I think at that point they decided that that needed to be there. Like, the hammer needed to be somewhere else for them to win, and unfortunately, both their go mode items were sitting back there.
Like, if hammer wasn't in Thieves Town, I was going the north route. When I found the fire rod in Thieves Town, I was like, okay, I have the mirror. I'm going to pot anyways. Like, it wasn't long, but that's what my thought process. Because between the fire rod and the hammer, there's a lot that happened in my head. So Skullwoods is Green Pendant. Maybe I should do Skullwoods before heading to pod. And then Hammer's just here, and then everything changes. But yeah, after getting the hammer, I actually was tempted to skip the back of pod at some point because I got 2 items already, and I still have Swamp Mire and TR itself for an ice rod. And like, I kind of felt bad about the desert dip. That I thought about it, but it wasn't reasonable.
Yeah, that was the other kind of question I had, was that when you hit go mode, like, how were you feeling? Like, you got back to Thieves like fairly quickly, but I'm sure you could very easily see a very reasonable route that beats you by a few minutes at that point.
Oh, definitely. Like, my Smith routing was a bit slow-ish, I want to say. But I still wanted to do it, like going back, trying to get the hammer before dipping Thieves down and going north to, like, because that's where I wanted to go to pod, right, from north. So I didn't want to orphan K45, knowing where the mirror was. I just didn't want to orphan that already, especially with the bow being fairly accessible. Yes, lamp wasn't ped.
Lamp was on ped?
Yeah,
I guess we were gonna get that.
we had almost no other logical places left for it to be, right? There was like back of skull, there's maybe an item or two in ice, and then that was all we had left given what we saw from Furaime.
So yeah, I wasn't really trying to get back into logic, especially with that loot and the bow, but still, kind of keep in mind that those 2 are locked behind the lamp, but I wasn't thinking that it would be so deep.
Yeah, that makes sense. There's at that point, a lot of weird places that you had never planned to go that the lamp could have been, so yeah, congrats on making it to the top 32. It's still a tough road ahead in the lower bracket to make it to the finals of SG Live, but it's going to be a fun event for sure. So good luck to you in your future matches.
I just wanted to shout out Furaime. I mean, GG's to him. Furaime was actually the first, like, big player I faced when I started playing this game. It was during the first week of League, so like seeing myself going like that far since then, that I made a lot of progress, and that's where I'm sitting right now. It's kind of special to face Furaime right now, since
Yeah,
no,
it is cool to see
very-
like the people you look up
that is
to.
so touching.
Yeah, and they're like the people you look up to.
big.
You start playing, they become like your peers, and then it's yeah, those are always cool moments.
Big shout out to him, like GG's man, GG's.
You know, Lynn, so as the 2019 Cross Keys champion, you have the coveted Furaime role. Please carry that forwards with you. It'll be like an honorary win, and that's the case.
Thank you.
Yeah, but I mean, definitely congratulations on advancing. As Matt said, certainly best of luck. Definitely looking forward to the next set of your races. And it is, you know, losers bracket especially going to be, you know, not only a battle of rando, it's going to be a battle of endurance because, yeah, there are going to be a lot of matches ahead. And any other thoughts, though, before I think we kind of wrap things up?
I thought that was it. That's a lot, okay? It's hard to say. It's not easy to say.
Oh no. I mean, I think it was very touching, honestly, and it's really like moments like this. I think that it's just really it's not only very wholesome, but it's also just like it's kind of like another one of those like you feel really good about the community in general, right? Because you have people like like yourself in order to be able to give these types of these types of stories. So it's really very touching. So right, so I think with that, yeah. So thank you again, for Lynn and Furaime for racing. It was actually a really good race. Very top tier execution players, and just always a pleasure to watch. Thank you, Lane, for doing all of the tracking so late as well for you. So I'm really glad that you were able to do this. Thank you, Matt, as always. It's also definitely a very fun commentary set to do with you. So.
Yeah, thanks very much. You're the best.
Oh, no.
Always a pleasure.
Yeah, always gonna be fun. So certainly looking forward to the next set of races. So I think we are actually wrapping up the last set of bracket matches for top 128. I think there are only going to be a couple more on the schedule. There is, I think, one more tonight, Tam versus Sleepy on SpeedGaming, but that's going to be some late night rando, 11:20 p.m. Eastern time. A couple more, I think, scattered about this weekend, and then we are going to kick off our top 32. Probably, I think, starting like next Monday or something like that. So it's going to be really exciting, and certainly look forward to more rando for SGL. Have a good night.